to come to my hometown where it all started. So thank you. Thank you for this incredible honor. Actually, to be totally honest with you, I mean, the award is great, right? The award is great. Bridget, what you said, great, video, fantastic. But seriously, giving me an occasion. Giving the judge of Olivia Benson an occasion to rock this dress. I mean, come on. Oscar de la Renta, Fernanda, Laura, fist bump. Oh my stars, you people don't mess around. So thank you very much. This is good. I'm
Sorry, I can't.
so truly honored to be here. Obviously, it's hard to find the words, but I'm truly honored to be here because I am in a room full of like-minded people, like-minded women. And I don't use the word like-minded lightly. In fact, I want to explain very specifically what I mean. And in order to do that, I would like to invite you all into my family's Saturday night a few weeks ago. That's right, people, field trip. So here it is. Here's the earth-shattering news about that night, which actually I think deserves its own award because we actually, wait for it, managed, the five of us, to watch a family movie. Yes, we faced down that stream of Netflix and Max and Disney and Amazon Prime and the rest of the 5,000 million selections that we have, and we finally agreed on a movie. So the movie that we watched was called 14 Peaks. I don't know if any of you've seen it. It's amazing, and it's about a Nepalese mountaineer who climbs all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks in the span of 7 months. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, the most famous mountaineer that ever did that is a guy named Reinhold Messner, and he did all 14 peaks in 10 years, okay? So just to give you an idea. The movie is glorious. I highly recommend it. It's ridiculously inspiring, and it was crazy. But the thing that made me, left me with the deepest impression is not what was in the movie. The thing that got me really thinking is something that happened after the movie. My 11-year-old son, Andrew, says to me, "Mom, what do you think is the most courageous thing that's ever been done?" And I was like, okay, little Buddha, Yoda, hotshot, deep thinker, philosopher, one of you. So I took a second and I said, "Peter?" But he'd already gone to bed, so I'm like, shit. And so, he offered me some of his own speculations, right? Most of them involving superheroes. And I thought about it for a little bit, and something that I'm learning to do is think about things, take a breath before we speak. And I told him that I actually didn't know, and that it was impossible to know what the most courageous thing that's ever been done is. And so he asked me why. And don't you hate that when kids go, why? So I wanted to say, shut up. But I didn't say that. And I thought, thank you, fantastic little person, for asking the best questions. And so I said to Andrew, it's very hard for two reasons. And the first reason is because the majority of courageous acts that are committed are without anyone ever witnessing them. They're committed privately, without fanfare, without applause, without acknowledgement. There's no awards or news coverage, or more often than that, quite frankly, there's not even a thank you. And secondly, I said that it was impossible to name the most courageous thing because it is a deeply individual and deeply personal response to a challenge, trial, a mountain, a climb, a summit that we're all facing. And what is an everyday act for one person can be the feat of the utmost courage for the next. So I wanted to give him an example of it, so I said, Andrew, imagine a kid, like the teacher calls on you, and this kid is terrified to go up in front of the class. and she gets up in front of the class and walks what seems like 1,000 miles to the front of the classroom, turns around, in spite of her shaking knees and trembling hands, and in spite of all these kids facing back at her, she starts to speak. So we'll never know what that little girl had to overcome, or for that matter, the far more difficult things that children everywhere have to overcome every day. And it is vital that we do not forget that those acts, those little acts, when we start to think about the greatest displays of courage in the world. So, first of all, yes, I'm basing my entire speech on a question from my 11-year-old kid. Awkward. But I thought that because of the extraordinary work that you do for children in the Los Angeles area, that was somehow very much on brand. But why am I telling you all of that? Why am I inviting you into my family's Saturday night? I told you that I was very honored to be in a room of like-minded women. And I say that because all of us, in ways, big ways and small, although, by the way, there are no small ways, in ways that are occasionally recognized, but far more go unrecognized and unacknowledged, all of us are responding to a call to lead courageous lives. All of us. And that can have as many meanings as there are women in this room. But I want to tell you with all my heart that I see you, and I applaud you, and I recognize you, and I celebrate you. And I am so proud to be your colleague. I want to challenge you. I want to challenge all of us. I want us all to challenge ourselves to let courage drive us to do more. And I've often said that I started the Joyful Heart Foundation in 2004 because I wanted to help, you saw the amazing video, to help survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence heal and reclaim their lives of hope, their lives of possibility, and their lives of joy. And that is entirely true. But I also started the organization because of sheer outrage that I felt when I learned the statistics of sexual violence for the first time. They're hard statistics, but they're important statistics, and I want to share some of them with you. About 41% of women have experienced contact sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime. 1 in 4 women have experienced a completed or attempted rape, and it is estimated that 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to violence. I heard that, and my head exploded. And my head exploded again in 2009 when I heard about the backlog of untested rape kits. Over 250,000 sexual assault evidence collection kits sitting in warehouses and police storage facilities across the country, sitting there, abandoned, rotting, as the statute of limitations runs out. So we made, and that's, by the way, only the ones that are reported, right? Those are the only ones that are reported. You know how many women don't report, and understandably why. So Joyful Heart, we made the backlog our #1 advocacy priority, and we've changed policy in every state but one, Maine. So if you know anybody in Maine, come see me. And we're poised at Joyful Heart right now for our next chapter. But perhaps most of all, let's be courageous in the ways that we listen to ourselves. It's quite possible it's true, it's not quite possible that our beautiful hearts have had something to say for a long time about healing, about the possibility of wholeness, and that our hearts are asking us to be really, really, really brave and listen to what they have to tell us. And in case you want a little piece of outrage in your recipe, how about this? How about a subsidiary of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development called UN Women just released a report last year that found that nearly every available metric, from access to clean drinking water to women feeling safe walking alone in the dark, the push for women's parity is losing ground. And at the current rate of progress, UN Women projects that it will take another 286 years, that's 9 generations, for women to achieve legally protected equality. So, that is a devastating, devastating assessment. And it's also known that you're taught never, never, never end a speech on a bummer. Well, you just can't close on a statistic like that. Okay, that's speech writing 101. All right, so you gotta end on an up note, am I right? I am absolutely gonna end on an up note. So, am I gonna skew the hard facts? No, I'm not. Will the change that we seek happen in our lifetime? Probably not. But I'll be damned, and will be damned, if we don't do everything in our power. And if we don't put all of our collective to involve deepening our understanding of what justice means to each survivor, finding new ways to heal the healers that serve the survivors, and building models for earlier interventions with children to lay the groundwork for healthy relationships. And I'm telling you, we've only just begun, which I'm quite excited about. So thank you. So that's what my courage called me to do at Joyful Heart, and we've all, achieved all that we've done, and that's how I answered, right? That's how I answered my calling. So obviously, the next logical step in the speech is for me to say, and I want to encourage all of you to answer it is whatever your courage is calling you to do. And yes, I stand behind that statement, but what I want to say is it doesn't take starting a foundation. I feel really fortunate that I was able to do that, and I had the right recipe of outrage and drive, and frankly, recklessness to get Joyful Heart going. And the right people came in at the right time to help me, and so I'm so grateful for that. But when I say that I want our courage to drive us more, I simply mean this. Let's be courageous in stepping beyond our limits in the way we help to bring about change. Let's be courageous in the ways that we listen to survivors. Let's pay courageous attention to the ways, those long-standing societal attitudes of blame. I'm going to say that again, of blame and shame and responsibility for sexual assault that has seeped into our thinking. Let's be courageous in the way you speak to your children, especially your sons. Let's be courageous in the way that you speak to your sons about how they hold other young men accountable. Let's be courageous in how we use our voices, how we use our reach, and how we use our influence. But perhaps our collective courage to work while we're here, to do our part in moving this wheel forward, to make the burden lighter for our children, but not only for our children, but for children everywhere, and for their children, and their children, and their children, and their children after that. We all know that children are incredibly resilient, but by God, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if they didn't have to be? I'll also say this. We'll get it done the way this movement has always gotten things done. A bunch of badass women in a room getting down to business. As colleagues. Were they dressed by Oscar de la Renta? No. Maybe we're on to something here. So I'll leave you with this. The family movie that we watched, 14 Peaks, do you know what the climber had written on his jacket, embroidered on his jacket? Nothing is impossible. Amen to that. Thank you all so very, very, very much. And thank